Right.
Good afternoon and welcome from Bloemfontein. The Irish side, it's a mighty one. They reckon that whatever Wales can do, Ireland can do better. They're fielding a huge pack with 5 target men in the line-out. One of them, Neil Francis, a survivor along with Brendan Mullen from the last World Cup meeting between these countries 4 years ago. The young halfbacks, Paul Burke and Niall Hogan, who played in the last championship match against Wales, have been restored in the hope that they can bring in their back division. Japan have made 2 changes from the side beaten by Wales. On the left wing they have Yoshida, who returns to win his 29th cap in the hopes that he'll give Japan the cutting edge they so desperately need in attack, and also to kick the goals, because that was a major problem for them against Wales. The conditions absolutely perfect. The replacements there, the most interesting of course is Philip Danaher, who was called out as a replacement for Jim Staples, who broke his hand against the All Blacks. He arrived a couple of days ago. He's in pretty good fettle. He hasn't played for 3 weeks, but he's kept himself pretty fit. So the referee is Steph Neethling from South Africa, the first South African to referee a World Cup match. It will be his 3rd international. That's Steph Neethling. The conditions, as you can see, perfect once again. The sun shining brightly. It is a problem here, the sun. It's so bright, so intense. And we're just waiting now for the instructions, just watching the teams line up at the anthems. The difference in size was quite considerable. Ireland have fielded just about the biggest pack that they can. There's Steph Neethling, a big responsibility on him today, and quite an honour as the first South African to referee a World Cup match. And with me, Nigel Carr. It's very important to get this off to the right start, isn't it, Nigel?
It's a vital game for Ireland, because obviously they performed very, very well against New Zealanders, but they must repeat that today.
So we're off. Underneath it, the ball is Tweed. It comes off for Eddie Halvey. And Ireland right away into the action, working it back for Hogan. Difficult ball for Burke, but he did well to recover. Straight down to Matsua. And he kicks aimlessly to Conor O'Shea, but the whistle had gone, and a late tackle on Matsua. So they'll get the penalty where the ball landed, and my goodness, Japan going straight for the short one, taken by Sukabara. Now it's Horikoshi into Latu. Away come Japan. They're so swift in the counter-attack. Yoshida taken by Hogan on the 22. The Irish rattled early on. Bruce Ferguson comes away with it for Japan. In there is Neil Francis. Well, right away into the action.
It's a great start for Japan, and it's a feature there that we saw coming through from the Welsh game. They had a kickable opportunity at the post, and they chose instead to try and tap it and run it. That's something Ireland must be aware of. Get back 10 quickly and turn and face. So
the first scrummage just inside the Irish 22, held at the back by Paddy Jones. Hogan, and another indifferent clearance straight to the fullback Matsuda, who loves to counter-attack. Decided against it on this occasion, and another waste of a kick this time. There's no obstruction, and it'll be Conor O'Shea with plenty of time to touch down for the 22.
Yes, the 2 reasonably inexperienced halfbacks coming in here, Chris. They weren't risked against New Zealand, where the more experienced pair were picked. They haven't got off to a great start, but they're both fairly cool and calm customers, and I expect them still to settle down and play well.
Well, very interestingly there, I saw Paul Burke go across to the referee and get him just to feel the inflation of the ball, the pressure of the ball, because he may be worried about that. He sets off a good kick there, taken by Neil Francis, but it'd been knocked forward by Davy Tweed. So it'll be a scrummage down. Nick Popplewell, of course, captaining Ireland for the first time in his 28th international. The referee making sure, as all the World Cup referees have done, that the packs don't engage too quickly. That's a good scrummage, technically very sound in the scrummage, the Japanese. Horikoshi waits. Now to Hirao. And this is where they're so dangerous. The passing is beautiful. That was not so good to Yoshida, but he's still got plenty of room. And he's still got the ball. Up to the 22 he comes. The support comes in a little bit slowly from Japan. Ireland are across in numbers. Just outside their 22. Hogan waits. Now to Burke, standing very close, giving himself not much of an angle, but he's found a very good touch from a very tight angle up to the halfway line. But you can see, Nigel, how quickly the Japanese move the ball, how dangerous they are.
At the moment, Chris, the Japanese are calling all the shots. They're dominating. Now, for Ireland, it's important that they try and establish their pattern of play. They haven't really done that. They need to maybe slow things down and get a little bit more control.
There's the Irish captain, Nick Popplewell, and it's all been happening at a tremendous pace so far. He's just got to try and calm things down. Ireland must play it on their terms. Ireland closing the gap, free kick. One thing the World Cup referees have been very hot on. So, quickly taken once again. Japan not going for touch, understandably. They're going to run this ball whenever they can. That's Ferguson, the big Fijian. Well, he played for Fiji. He's a Tongan, actually. Now up to the 10-metre line. And that's Matoki. Again, a wasted kick there. He was trying to angle it for the corner. But Ireland penned back in their own 22. Matoki, who was outstanding in the preliminary matches that Japan had to play to reach the finals. Very promising. This Paul Burke. An unsettling opening minutes for Ireland. Well taken. Sukabai. It's Horikoshi straight into touch. So Nigel, Japan looking lovely when they're moving the ball, but they're kicking badly at the moment.
Yes, they are. Certainly, again, they want to kick away from lineouts, Chris. We're likely to see maybe some grubber kicks, chips up and unders, that type of thing, because there is definitely a height advantage for Ireland in the lineouts, and they should make this count now. Davy Tweed there, 6'6", standing 2 to 3 inches bigger than his opposite number.
It's won by Ireland, by Davy Tweed, and now the drive. This is what Ireland want to do, just to suck in those loose and stray forwards who are cluttering up the midfield, and that's a very good drive up over the halfway line. Ireland still going. Now they lay it back for Burke. Burke aimed at Matsuda, but not nearly far enough. Offside in any case. Careless work by Ireland. So it was neither a good enough kick, and in fact Ireland had got in front of the ball. So an untidy start this by Ireland. Now there is without... That's Latu, number 8, and the captain, Kunda. And it's Yoshida with a good touch. So once again, Japan back on the attack. And Ireland were rather taken aback, I think, by the ferocity of this opening. Japan cut their line, but they have no real hope of getting it if they throw it squint. Burke, a kick behind Oto and Matsuda, but Matsuda had plenty of time, and that's a good kick by him, taking play almost up to the halfway line.
Yeah, again, the last line out, Chris, was so a tactic which I expect Ireland to use a lot today. They should be able to catch clean ball in the centre of the line out, and they should be able to drive on. If one of the things, they should outplay the Japanese in their upper body strength and driving on the line out, eventually releasing quick balls for their backs.
Well, that was squint, so that's given the opportunity to Japan. A lost chance from Ireland there. Number 7 there, David Corkery, playing on the open side. Eddie Harvey playing on the open side. And Horikoshi, rather too high, not far enough. But Ireland still have the advantage. Hirao. Terrible pass to Matoki. And he's taken by Burke. Now Ireland have a chance if they can work it back. Hogan has it. Away comes Keith Wood. Oh, he's hard man to hold. He's still going up over the 22. It's back now for Hogan. Into Halvey. Halvey, a powerful man in the burst. 2 Johns. It's all a little bit slow. Now Hogan has it. Trying to find a gap. Burke is with him. So too Popplewell. Offside though, is it? Or no, going to ground. So Japan given away a penalty in a very kickable position. That was Kashihara. And there's an injury in midfield.
It's somewhat worrying probably at the moment, Chris, that the Irish pack seem somewhat slow to get behind the ball and drive over. Those rucks players are going off in ones and twos, and we're not supporting as quickly as we like. Certainly one of the important things here as well is it's actually very warm. These conditions would suit the Japanese much, they're more used to that type of thing than the Irish would be.
Well, Terry Kingston, the Irish captain, is getting up off the bench and parading along the touchline. So whether there's certainly an injury to Keith Wood, and it looks as if it's his arm, and it looks as if it's fairly serious. So it was in that drive that Keith Wood took the Irish up over the 22, and it must have been there that he was injured, and there's generous and sympathetic applause for Keith Wood as he comes off. And what a tragedy this would be for this young man who's burst on the international scene and has really been bedeviled by injury. And here he is now, and it looks to me as if it's very serious indeed, and his face tells it all. The end perhaps of what has been a wretched season of injury, and that's Noel Murphy, the Irish manager, consoling him, but he will be inconsolable. So we'll give you news on that whenever we have it, but in the meantime it's a penalty to Ireland, and Paul Burke has this opportunity to put them ahead with really what has been their first attack, because all the attacking play in the early stages has come from Japan. So Paul Burke in his 5th international, 29 points for Ireland. Ball in part shadow here, and this in itself is a problem for the players. Very difficult to gauge in the brightness of the sun and the light. But the ball flies if he gets it right. Well, he didn't, but there's still a chance as Paddy Johns comes to Corkery. Corkery going, driving through up to the line. The Irish want it back quickly. Johns has it, and he's being driven across with Kingston in support. Now Hogan out to field. They're held up just a couple of meters short. Hogan again, and Hogan is brought down just short of the line. Ireland pile over and they score. Corkery looks as if he's got it, and Corkery, who scored against the All Blacks, has done it again, and that was just reward for his tenacity and for Ireland's tenacity.
Yes, that's the sort of start that Ireland were looking for, Chris. They really need to try and dominate early on. This is the sort of side that you must not give any opportunities to get into the match. Eventually, when it came out from this loose ball, Ireland had driven a couple of times, and obviously Corkery again trying to run. Hogan doing the dummy there and moving on, and again we're seeing 3 or 4 Irish forwards getting there quickly before, in fact, David Corkery gets his 2nd try of the tournament.
He certainly scored a stirring try against the All Blacks, and he's having a marvellous tournament so far. He was one of the successes of the tour in Australia, and then a disappointing home season, but he's come back with a bang in this World Cup. So Paul Burke, having missed with the penalty, it didn't do any harm. In fact, it's done Ireland a great deal of good. So that has perhaps settled Irish there, as it's taken them into the lead by 7 points to 0, and the try scorer David Corkery. Here we can see it again, and it was Hogan's thrust when everyone thought he was going to pass it wide. He took in the cover, and Corkery in support, like a good thing and over for the try. Restart, Toki. Taken comfortably by Johns outside his 22. Good support, good cover for Hogan. Not perhaps the best of clearances. But Ireland, I shouldn't think, Nigel, will mind having lineouts all afternoon if they can keep winning.
No, that tactic from the Japanese was a sort of persistent one of kicking to 25, and it really gives their forwards little opportunity to get under the ball. Ireland will be quite happy to try and contest these lineouts. A lot of these were thrown in the last match against Wales, often over the tail.
So Sukaraba and Bruce Ferguson in the line for Japan, and it's Sukaraba who takes it off to Latu, a stunning pass into midfield, and Matoki. Now it's Harao. Harao's finding that. This could be dangerous because the support will come in so quickly, and they are lightning in these thrusts, the Japanese, given half a chance. Just couldn't stay on their feet there, and that's given Ireland a chance to regroup. The Irish seem to have robbed them, and that was important ball one for Ireland. Back to Morris Field. They field only so far as the scrum half Horikoshi. Now Latu, and the wide pass now to Matoki. Harao, there's men outside, Yoshida, and he has Yoshida outside him up to the 22, he comes, brought down by Wallace. Oh, and the knock-on just took his eye off the ball. Ireland have the chance to counter. Away comes Paddy Johns. It's all a little bit untidy, and at the moment there's an Irishman in the middle of the field receiving treatment. But Horikoshi may be the smallest scrum half in the tournament, but he's got a mighty pass.
Yes, as you say, Chris, it's very disjointed from Ireland at the moment. Unfortunately, they're kicking that loose kick from Morris Field. Just gives the Japanese the opportunity they want. They liked and feed off that loose ball. Eddie Halby there, he had suffered an injury early on in the week, obviously getting another knock and coming back into it. It was another feature. Some of their handling in the backs doesn't seem to be that great. They seem just over keen to get into the match. But really, Ireland need to tighten the whole thing down, play a much simpler game, and make sure of their touch kicks.
Well, certainly the Irishmen are in the wars at the moment, and it looks as if Halvey's coming off to be replaced by Anthony Foley. It's an eye cut, so it'll presumably require stitches, and with luck, Halvey will be back. But Foley now takes his place on the side of the scrum, on the blind side, which will enable Corkery to play in his favoured position on the open. So it's Hogan with the feet, and this is all very disrupting for the Irish. They haven't been able to find the rhythm. Burke to touch, nothing like the pattern they were able to establish against the All Blacks.
It is one of the feature, of course, Chris, of Irish performances. They so often raise their game for the big matches, and these ones are much more difficult. But obviously now there's something very vital at stake.
The Japanese cut their line. Bruce Ferguson at the back won the ball, and Harao just inside his own half sends up a kick for Conor O'Shea. O'Shea has time, and he had the good sense to keep his eye on it the whole time. He's found touch and done the clearing work well. Conor O'Shea coming into the side, of course, for Jim Staples, who broke his hand in the opening match and will take no further part in the tour. And certainly the ferocity of the Japanese tackling has taken its toll of the Irishmen so far. Once again, the line cut at the back is Ferguson. That's Kunda, the captain. They're up to all the tricks. The long pass again into midfield, from which Japan launch yet another attack. And when they flow, they really can move. That's Ferguson again. But Horikoshi's pass not up to it. And so it will be a scrummage down to Ireland. But really, Ireland have had very, very few attacking opportunities, and they have had very little territorial advantage. And this Japanese scrum, well, they may be conceding a great deal of weight, but they're holding firm. Look how low they get. And Ireland can hardly move them. They're trying now, and they've got a good scrummage on. And they've got a good heave on. The referee, Steph Neathling, just pointing out that if the Ireland break from the scrum, they must come back. But in the meantime, Eddie Halvey appears again. There he is, waiting to resume play. Down to Matsuda. Matsuda's going to try nothing reckless, but he's found a lovely touch, which has forced Ireland back inside their own half of the field, and really it's all Japan at the moment.
Yes, unfortunately our kicks from the halfbacks aren't particularly well directed. It would be much better to have that one going wide and sliding into touch. But really Ireland have to try and secure the first phase possession. If they could take a two-handed ball from this and drive it on quickly, releasing the backs, that would be a much better style of play for them to adopt.
Ferguson there, their main line-out jumper, but that's won well by Ireland. Hogan, Matsuda waits just outside his 22. That was a good, well-flighted ball. Halvey in there, and this is now trouble for Japan. They're in desperate defence. The ball's come loose and scrambled into touch by Otoki. And that was the first time of panic in the Japanese defence. Davy Tweed from Ballymena being watched this afternoon by two Ballymena greats. Willie John McBride is here, and so too Sid Miller. Kingston with a well-timed leap. Ireland beginning now to take a little bit more control at the line out. Now they're looking for the rolling maul to take them further to that line. Now they get it. They roll into the sunlight, and away comes Neil Francis. And he's been given the try. It was Neil Francis from a classic take and maul, and it was Francis who went over for his try.
That was a fine try, Chris, to settle the Irish nerves. A couple of tries already in the game. That's a better start, in fact, than Wales had. Again, they took this two-handed in the line-out, the very tactic we've been talking about, and something, again, they've done a lot of training, getting bodies in front of the ball and driving on until it became loose enough, allowing Francis to drive over. And he's a big man and just managed to get touched down.
Referee right on the spot. So the Irish forwards now beginning to make their presence felt. And this is where Japan struggle. And as Burke prepares to take this conversion, we have a replacement coming on for Latu. So Burke then with this conversion attempt. No doubt about that one, and that's another 2 points, and Ireland suddenly have a comfortable lead despite having had not all that much of the play. They lead by 14 points to 0, and we have Ko Izawa coming onto the field in place of Latu.
Yes, it really does settle the Irish nerves to get this try, and it's something now that they must keep their concentration. They must not let the Japanese get back into it. Any chance or sniff they have at all of getting the scores is likely to make them fight all the harder. Ireland must now press home that advantage and start to try and build and build and build on that score.
So Yoshida with the dropout. They've been practicing that. Very high, very difficult to take, but well cleared up by Davy Tweed. Laid back for Hogan. Offside. And Ireland now beginning to exert control in the all-important forward phases. Clearing up well. And Burke finds a safe touch. Japan only one World Cup match in their 3 appearances. That was against Zimbabwe in the World Cup finals, that is. Of course, they qualified well without losing a match. But wonderfully attractive to watch, but their big problem is here against men like that. Tweed. Straight to Matsuda. Matsuda with plenty of time decides to mark. Now, we may well see Japan move everything, and here they go. But it's so dangerous. Matsuda weaving his way out of the 22, and he's still going. And that's terrific support from Kajihara, and still Japan can... Oh, Oto, surely. went in feet first, but the referee allowed it. That seemed to me to be a hugely reckless manoeuvre by Otu. But the referee allowed it and has awarded a penalty against Japan for handling on the ground.
No, I mean, maybe we'll get a chance to see that again, Chris, but it looked an exceptionally dangerous manoeuvre. I mean, he is a big, powerful man, but he lifted his foot and boot, and now one of the Irish players is down injured.
It's Paul Wallace, I think, and Otto, who scored the 2 tries against Wales. Let's just have another look at it. He's an extremely powerful man. And here, perhaps we can see it. And my impression certainly was that he went in. Look at that. Well, we can almost see what happened there, and he went in foot first. And as you say, Nigel, very dangerous. But Paul Wallace, happily in his first international appearance, is all right. Although there's Gary Halpin just warming up in case. But Wallace has taken his place in the line-out, and Ireland have a line-out. There's number 4, Davy Tweed. Kingston throws, Francis takes, the Irish forwards surge in. But it's held. Now away comes Kingston. Brought down short of the 22. Wallace takes on. Away comes Hogan now to Burke, to Field, to O'Shea. A loose pass there for Richard Wallace. And it strikes me, Nigel, that they haven't actually been able to work the ball out to one of the most dangerous men of all, Simon Gagan.
No, I mean, both wingers can be very dangerous in their day, and what they're trying to do there in the forwards is to take it down, drive it on, but the moment they're not giving that quick ball that's so useful for the backs, and the Japanese backs can be up so quickly, they pressurise their opposite numbers, so they need time and space, the Irish, to actually get it across their line.
So a scrummage down, just outside the Japanese 22. Hiro. Very poor pass there from Matoki, and Yoshida's in terrible trouble as the Irish forwards pile in. Last up there was Johns trying to work it back for Hogan. And away now comes Popplewell. There's room outside for Corkery. Corkery has Gagan, and Gagan goes over for the try. It was so easy when it came. They were queuing up. And having just said that Gagan wasn't getting the ball, he's got it, and with his first touch, Gagan has scored for Ireland.
Now, Simon Gagan's an exceptionally good finisher. Popplewell there, not taking too much out of the ball, and Corkery too, putting a wide pass out to Simon Gagan. He'll be delighted to get in the score sheet. He didn't have many opportunities against New Zealand. Well,
we can't give that man that amount of room, but it was all started by Popplewell, the captain, and Corkery, as he's done so often in this tournament, was the effective link, and Gagan was over easily for the try. So Ireland now beginning to take the control we thought that and hoped that they might, and they have certainly begun to dominate the forward exchanges. The other thing too, of course, is that they will force Japan out into the open and force them perhaps to take chances that they wouldn't otherwise do. And that really was what led to the try. So Paul Burke, after his early lapse, has kicked very soundly. Conditions are quite perfect, and of course up here the ball travels huge distances. Got it straight. No, just across the face of the goal, but Ireland's lead is comfortable enough. 19 points to 0.
Yes, that'll be disappointing for Ireland. Paul Burke certainly hasn't started in the best kicking form. In fact, Eric Elwood in the last match didn't kick as well as he might. But there we see Popplewell so often as he does, taking the ball and driving on, passing it out to Gagan, and certainly from that 10 yards out with that amount of space, he was bound to score.
Johns takes the ball from the kick-off with Kingston in support. Hogan to Burke. Burke standing very close to Hogan and almost inviting the Japanese loose forwards onto him, that was clearing quite comfortably. Brendan Mullen, we haven't seen much of him in attack. Kundu cuts the line. Davy Tweed at the front, but it's going up to the back. There is Halvey. Izawa in, the replacement. Now out to Hirao. Yoshida and Motoko in a terrible mix-up in the middle of the field. But away come Japan again through Horikoshi. Everything done at 100 miles an hour, and Ireland in the comfortable position at the moment of being able just to fan out. Yoshida, oh, he's not going to get past Halvey, but Halvey took him a bit high, offside in any case. And I suspect that Japan will run this. Horikoshi, all 5'2" of them, to Hirao. The switch with Yoshida. And away now comes Kingston. Hogan waits to O'Shea, and that'll bounce well for him. That's a marvellous kick by O'Shea, taking advantage of the bounce, and he's taken Ireland into a very promising attacking position.
Yes, that's a much sounder kick from Conor O'Shea. They're coming up from the full-back position, standing in it out half and left-footed, sliding it across the ground and bouncing it into touch. That's a fine kick for the Irish, but Japan have actually taken quite a bit of line-out ball so far, Chris. They've thrown a couple short on the two-man line-outs and one long over the back, which Eddie Halvey nearly got.
And that man Sukaraba in your picture has done remarkably well. One of the two recognised jumpers. But Ireland penalised there. And I think it was Francis moving too quickly. Coming through too quickly, Francis was penalised. So it's Yoshida. And there we see Francis coming through on the loose ball, and the referee adjudged that it was too soon. So Kundu off the back. Well taken by Motoki. Now away they come again. They're in full flow. Matsuda, the kick intended for Yoshida. Just beat him though. Not quite delicate enough. The dangerous man, Matsuda, when he starts to come up from the full back position. He injects great pace. A reminder that the England-Italy match follows this. And the kick-off at 4 o'clock. Kingston with the throw. Ferguson. Now to Hirao. Motoki, Yoshida, but it was an awful pass, but Hirao had gone down on the loop. Up over the 22. The Japanese forwards, though, uncharacteristically slow to get across. Ireland are there in the greater numbers, and they've won it. Good ball for Ireland. And a good clearance from Morris Field.
Yes, a little touch of class there from Brendan Mullen. What the Irish really are not trying to secure that ball. That was their throw-in the line-out, and with the size of men they have, it must be well directed, and they must support it as they get the men up in the air. Another injury there, Eddie Halvey. Once again, another blood injury. I'll have to get that seen too.
Yes, my apologies to Mullen there. He's got a couple of gashes now, Halvey. And that looks a very nasty one on the top of his head. My goodness, the Irish have been in the wars. Away comes Hirao. And here's Otto again. Look at this man go. He's wonderful in full flight. Well brought down, though, by Hogan. That was a brave tackle from Hogan. Japan won the ball again from the penalty. Short penalty taken by Ferguson. Ferguson up over the 22. Now Hirao runs it. This is lovely running by the Japanese. Otto is over his heels. Just brought down short. Has he scored? The referee says no. The crowd are outraged by it. The referee said no try. That he was bundled in over the dead ball line before he could get it down. That's Kajihara. Now let's have a look at this. It was lovely running by Japan. and it was Kajihara who was bundled in, and was bundled over before he could get the touchdown. I think it was a good decision as Tony Foley comes up to take over from Eddie Harvey. So it's a scrummage 5, but breathtaking attacking by the Japanese. They hold it now, and they're going for the pushover, the cheek of them. Out to Hirao. Matoki taken, just couldn't quite control it, but away comes Yoshida again. The whistle's gone. The crowd don't hear it. He was well tracked, though, by Richard Wallace. Well, it's wonderful to watch when the Japanese get into full flow. And the scrummage just waiting until the ball appears. That's the head of Corkery peeking round the side. He's got Hirao in his sights, but it's an Irish ball anyway. Hogan, desperate ball there for Ireland to have to clear that. That was a terrible pass from Hogan to Conor O'Shea. Terrible pass, and it's forced Ireland to dot down behind their own line, so they've had to concede the 5-metre scrum. They want quick ball. Away comes the scrum half, tries to do the switch with Otto, but Otto is held up. He's still going just a metre short of the line. Now they come it back again. Hirao, the pass is held up, but they come piling in again. This is the one they want. They've got Latu over. Has he gone over for the try? Latu, I think, has got the touchdown for Japan. Well deserved it is. They've been attacking this line relentlessly, and it's the flanker Latu, Sonali Latu, who's got the first Japanese try.
Yeah, it was a fairly impressive period of play there for the Japanese. They moved the ball so quickly from those sort of situations, and Latu again trying to drive in, and Foley just knew on the pitch. He's got quite a bit of weight and height, one of the imports to Japan, and he managed to get over. It's something that the Welsh side had to contend with at the end of their match, to take the ball and move it again so quickly, and some big forwards trying to get over as well. A well-deserved try for Japan.
So it will concentrate Irish minds, but they cannot afford to relax and just going into a huddle behind their line just to encourage themselves. They've got to get back into the game. And Yoshida, no problem with that. That was certainly, their goal kicking was awry in the opening match against Wales, but Yoshida on the left wing has been brought in to stiffen that. There's the try scorer, we can see again. It followed a barrage of attacks, and the power of Latu there, despite the attention of 3 Irishmen, was enough to get him over for the try. And this is Eddie Halvey, who's been on and off for running repairs. He's waiting again to come on, and he'll come on, and Anthony Foley will leave again. So Bert restarts. Well controlled by Japan. Horikoshi waits, but Japan now going for the maul before releasing Hirao. And this is Yoshida, Akira Yoshida. Japan, I think we can expect to see them running almost everything. But the Irish coming round the wrong side of the ruck. So Yoshida will be to clear his lines. And well, it's pretty even territory-wise. Certainly Japan had all the opening play. Good kick from Yoshida. So 19-7, Ireland far from clear and away of this one. They've got to reimpose themselves. Francis Barnes. But once again, Ireland closing the gap. Francis is held to be responsible again. And outraged innocence there from Neil Francis, but the referee's been very hot on that, and he has penalised Ireland on 3 occasions for it. Horikoshi then, with the short penalty move. What have they got up their sleeves this time? Oh, away comes Japan. This is stirring play. Wonderful. They're still going. And it's going to be a marvellous try. Yoshido. I think it's Yoshido has scored. And a wonderful piece of running by them. And suddenly Japan are back. It was Izawa, the replacement.
The Irish seem to have lost their concentration now in this 5-minute period. A penalty move worked there, and Sonali Latu, scorer of the first try, really should have been taken down. Now Simon Gagan seemed to have his man lined up but wasn't able to tackle him. Chased after him, but again they were going over. It's Ireland's lack of concentration, I think, in these last 5 minutes or so, going to 19-0, that perhaps felt that they have the game won. They haven't. They're a long way from it. Japan are very much back in this match.
And so it's Yoshida with the conversion attempt from in front of the post, and suddenly Japan are back. 19 points to 14. And Japan hugely encouraged by their first try, and away comes Izawa in support of Latu. This was an all back row move, and Gagan, who's a pretty fast customer, just couldn't keep up with him, and so Ireland are struggling, because once you give the Japanese a little bit of a sniff of victory, they're in there, they'll start to run everything, and they've got pace, and already frustration's showing. And Gagan took great exception to the attentions there of Kajihara. So, scrummage down. And that's a scrummage that's gone out of control. They'll have to come and scrummage again. But Ireland at least given the advantage of having gained a few metres. That's a better scrummage. Hogan, Burke. Not a good kick from Burke. And a very difficult ball for Hogan. Oh, and Japan are back. Halvey up in support there to try and repair the damage, but Japan have won a scrummage. We're into injury time, and Ireland are going through a very bad spell indeed. They've been hugely unsettled by these tries by Latu and Izawa. And they just need to settle down now, because they're in trouble. Horikoshi to Hirao. Yoshida. And it's Horikoshi again inside his own half, switching with Yoshida. That's Bruce Ferguson up over the halfway. Support there from Sukaraba. Now they come again, they've got men on the outside, such quick handling. But Suda, though, loses his footing. With accurate passing there was more trouble for Ireland, but still the Japanese come away through Horikoshi. So difficult to pin down at scrum half. They're coming down the short side. Latu again. Kicks for Oto. Across comes O'Connor. And this is non-stop Japan. And that is the half-time whistle. And what appeared to be a saunter for Ireland. They were leading 19 points to 0. They've been hit with 2 tries in as many minutes almost by Latu and Izawa. We have a real game here. Ireland have a lot to do in the second half. They lead by 19 points to 14. Welcome back to Bloemfontein, where we are just about at the end of half-time, and the news that Ireland lead Japan by 19 points to 14. So it's going to be a battle royal in the second half, because Japan, with these 2 tries late on, are fired up, and Ireland hugely dispirited. But away comes Corkery now to try and re-establish Irish control. Halvey is the one with the bandaged head. Now to Burke. Burke The kick intended for that very position, because Richard Wallace was never going to make it, but that was a well-placed kick by Burke.
Yes, that's a fine start from the Irish. Much more control in the forwards there, playing a quick ball off to Halvey, driving through the forwards again, releasing quick ball to Burke, and a much better directed kick, bouncing the ball into touch just a few metres out from the Japanese line.
So early danger for Japan. They're forced to cut their line. At the back there is Bruce Ferguson. It goes over the top, and always a dangerous tactic. You've got to get it so accurate. The charge down there from Hirokoshi, but they got away with that, and Ireland so quickly through.
It's a great opportunity now, Chris, for Ireland to try and re-establish themselves. I'm sure Nick Popplewell's had a few words with the forwards, a few choice words, no doubt, but it's a great opportunity with a strong Irish scrum so close to the Japanese line.
Well, we're going to see if they can go for the push, but Japan pack holding them. Now the second shove goes in, and now they're giving way. Now they crumble to the ground, and the referee, Steph Neethling, decides that they'll have to re-scrummage, but Ireland have gained a couple of metres, and he will be looking out here, I think, for any signs of a deliberate collapse. But Japan under real pressure here. And Neethling just having a word with Paul Wallace on the tight head side. Now Ireland going for the second shove now. The scrummage goes down again. The referee not at all sure how to apportion blame here. On the loose head side is Ota.
Yes, I think he's given them a warning now, because the Japanese have probably dropped that at the last two occasions. If it goes down again, I think he'll award the penalty try.
Well, Ireland, there's no doubt about what they're going to do. Hogan waiting at the back, but he's not going to get it until Ireland have tried to go for the shove. They're going now, and they've got the shove on, and they're going up step by step towards the line. It's held at the back by Johns. Ireland trying to hold it in the back. A loud blast of the whistle, and the referee has awarded a penalty try, because Ireland were on the charge there. Nothing was going to stop them unless it was an illegal collapse, and they've got the penalty try.
Yes, the Irish pack there had a significant weight advantage, and I think on two previous occasions Japan had in fact dropped it. The referee gave them the benefit of the doubt, but on the third occasion Ireland again went for that penalty try. I think they knew that either the Japanese were going to drop it or they were going to push the ball over for a score. Paddy John certainly was very unlikely to release that to Niall Hogan. And really the Irish pressure there has counted. It's something again I think they want to try and do this half, Chris. They want to try and keep the weight on all the time in the Japanese. That'll wear them out. Now they're running around the pitch like mad things at the moment, but if the Irish can keep that weight on, it'll certainly tend to tire them.
So Paul Burke with his easiest kick of the afternoon, straight in front of the posts. And Ireland have extended that lead early on, which is exactly what they wanted to do. Just take the steam out of the Japanese. The conversion is there, and so the Irish lead stretches now to 26 points to 14. And that's exactly what Nick Popplewell would have been calling for: tight control and this kind of scrummaging power, which the Japanese found irresistible and were forced to concede a penalty try. So that may just have taken a little bit of the steam out of the Japanese assault, which was overwhelming early on. And scrummage down. And Japan with the boot in. Away comes Latu, very prominent in the first half. Arau, Otoko. But there's no way through there, but laid back nicely. This is Aizoa again. And Japan take it further up towards the 22. Laid back now for Hirao. Now they're running it. Yoshida brought down. Hirao finds Aizoa. And he's round Popplewell. Can't get his pass away though, and that was a good tackle from Paul Wallace coming in. There's an injury in midfield, and it's to Neil Francis. Once again, Japan through. Koaizawa, who's come on as the replacement flank forward, has been very influential. Francis now takes his place in the line-out. One there, Popplewell, behind him, Davy Tweed. No prouder man playing for Ireland. And up goes Tweed on his 22. Francis looking to maul it round the side. But safely into touch from Paul Burke.
Yes, I think Paul Burke complaining there, Chris, because he's not getting a lot of time. The Japanese are very quick coming round from the loose situations and scrums too to pressurise the half-backs. It's something that Paul Burke, if he could stand back a little, or the Irish pack could give him a little more protection.
Now in comes Latu. Once again they try this to the back. Ferguson held up short of the 22. Now the backs are running. They're trying to give Otto the chance to run into the heart of the Irish defence, but it's back again, and away comes Ferguson. Perhaps the wrong option there. Might have been better to go the other way. But Japan still have it. They're coming through Harao, and they've crossed over the 22. Laid back from Horikoshi. And they're still going. The support is there. If they can get it wide. This is Kajihara. Kajihara held short. And away come Ireland. But offside. So Japan looking to run it back quickly. What are they going to do? I thought they were going to try and do a short penalty. They're right in front of the post. I would have thought they'd better to... No, they're going the short penalty move. Away comes Sukaraba. Back again. And they're being held short. The ball comes back now. Now for the backs. Can they run it? It's Otto. Held short. Just 2 meters short of the line. This is the one they want. They've sucked in quite a bit of the Irish cover. Away goes the scrum half. Horikoshi, he's held up. But a loud blast of the whistle there from Steph Neathling, and he's calling for Neil Francis and Terry Kingston and Nick Popplewell, and he's warning Francis for stamping, and he's issuing a last warning to Neil Francis, and there is Francis accepting and acknowledging his punishment, but it'll certainly be a major punishment if there's any further transgression, because that was the sternest of warnings to Neil Francis. Now, what are Japan going to do? Are they going to... they're going for the short one, and they're managing to get up closer to the line. Now they've got it back to Harao. The wide pass to Yoshida. But the Irish defence is holding firm. It has to, because they dare not let Japan cross here, and away comes Bruce Ferguson. He's held just short of the line, and this is a desperate attack and desperate defence. But the ball's on the ground.
Again, Chris, like the first half, we're seeing Ireland start so well and now a loss of concentration. They're really not tackling as firmly as they might. They must commit themselves to the tackle and try and take man and ball. The Japanese are succeeding now by hitting a man and moving the ball away quickly.
This is a scrummage right on their line, but Ireland go for a shove. Japan now work it back again. Oh, just that final pass not going to hand. But Otto is still in there, and he's a hard man to bring down. Away comes Corkery, and that was quick thinking by Corkery. There was no one back in defence. Matsudo has to chase back. Conor O'Shea is up, so is Brendan Mullen, but Matsudo has got round O'Shea and kicked to nowhere, but there's no one in the Irish 22. Hogan's all alone with Yoshida. Yoshida's up, takes Hogan. There are men over here if Ireland can work it back. Aizo's in there. The Japanese pack piling in, they're there in numbers, and they've got the scrummage.
Yes, Ireland once again giving problems for themselves there. Conor O'Shea pushing up very quickly. Maybe he should have slowed a little and allowed Matsuda to go past him. The kick was a very speculative one, and Niall Hogan across covering. I think if Niall Hogan had the experience of maybe Michael Bradley, he would have just booted that ball into touch on the far side.
Again, they've won that ball very quickly. Away comes Hirikoshi. Just the last pass can't get to hand. It's all fingertip stuff as far as the Irish defence is concerned. But they're holding firm at the moment. Horikoshi again to Hirao. The lovely little link there with Makoto. Now away they come, they've got men over. It's to Otto, but Gagan's got him covered. And the Irish defence all over the place at the moment. But the final pass for Japan just not going to hand. A little bit of carelessness.
Isn't it odd, Chris? They're technically so proficient in so many areas, and yet a basic skill like handling is letting them down. There have been quite a number of occasions where if a ball had gone to hand, they would have put Ireland under so much more pressure and might have scored on other occasions.
Well, the transfer between forwards and backs at the moment is lightning. They're managing to release the ball from the set piece so quickly, and I think is that Neil Francis down again. He was in trouble a few minutes ago. He was certainly in trouble with the referee a few minutes ago, but he also had a leg knock, and he's receiving treatment again on that.
Yes, this is a time. It'll give Nick Popplewell a time to muster his troops, and really I think at this stage he want to be telling them to try and steady the ball down all the time, make their tackles count. At the moment the Japanese are driving in, anytime they come into point of contact, they don't try a physical battle of mauling the ball, but to move it again out their backs. And Ireland are finding it very difficult to try and pin them down. All the time they're making tackles and balls being moved.
So Francis is all right. Waits. And clears successfully to touch. He's had a difficult afternoon. Some of the ball coming back hasn't been of the quality he'd like. Now Japan, once again, as they've been doing, cutting their line. Ferguson at the back, opposite him is Halvey. He goes to the front though, and Sukabara. Not straight, so it'll be a scrummage down, and the Irish put in Sukurabara. And Hogan. Burke spotted a gap. But that may go too far for Matsuda. No, he's surely not going to tie anything. No, he doesn't. Well, Japan always on for something, but that was Sukaraba. And he was saying you've got to kick it over the line, a dropout, and of course he sort of punted it over. It wasn't a classical dropout by any means, so he's I think Ireland must have asked him to take the re-drop. I think yes, he's given them the opportunity to re-drop it out, and this time it's going to be Matoki. The high hanging kick, it's a good one for his forwards. His forwards all underneath it, but well taken there by Johns. Now Popplewell. Halvey up there, so too is Tweed. Back for Hogan. And Ireland forcing their way up to the 22. Lost possession of it now. It's given Matsuda a chance to counter. He's still going. He's light on his feet. And away they come again. They're piling up. This is lovely running by Matoki. He's so dangerous in open play. And away now comes Kashihara. This is up to the 22. They're all there, the Japanese, piling out, fanning out, but they were just thwarted at the last.
Yes, Ireland had an incredibly difficult match against New Zealand, which took its toll, but this as well is taking its toll of the Irish players. They're under pressure constantly from a side that are really expected to beat well. They're tiring, they're finding it difficult to impose their pattern on the game.
I think the worrying thing is that, as you say, they're tiring, and Japan look the stronger at the moment. They just need another score to settle them if they can get it through their forwards. But clears well, this time up almost to the halfway line. But the strain certainly beginning to tell on that bench as well. There is Keith Wood, replaced at hooker by his captain, Terry Kingston. That one won by Japan. Now it's Oto making the break. He's so strong, he's still going. A lovely run by Oto. The Japanese support is coming in now, but there's a few Irishmen back. And away comes Richard Wallace, had done well to clear there, just outside the Irish 22. Davy Tweed trying to work the ball back for his backs to Conor O'Shea. And O'Shea left-footed, that'll be a lovely touch. One bounce, and that's taken Ireland clear of the immediate danger. A good kick by O'Shea. He's made some good touch finds this afternoon, and none more important than that one, because that was a stirring run once again by Oto.
Yes, Conor O'Shea has been a steadying influence in the Irish play. When some of the kicks are going directly to the opposite numbers, giving them the opportunity to run back at Ireland, O'Shea's managed to slide them into touch.
Tweed winning his fourth cap this afternoon. Once again, Japan have won the line out. Hirao, the cut-out pass, the two cut-out pass to Yoshido. Yoshido's gone straight past up over the halfway line, up over the 10-metre line. This is going to be a sensational try if he can get past Hagen. He was just brought down though short. Wonderful running by Yoshida. But still Japan are piling in. If they can get it, there's still danger. Oh, what beautiful, magical running by Yoshida on that left wing.
Yes, he's only 5'6" high, but he's got blistering pace. Scorer of 3 tries in the last World Cup in 1991, and he nearly got his first of this particular tournament. Ireland really, we can see it from the reverse angle, stepping inside Richard Wallace and then going on the outside. Now, he looked like he might get into the corner, but there were covering men coming across, and he tried to step back inside. Unfortunately for the Japanese side, just losing his feet, but it was another opportunity where Japan have looked so dangerous. They're just 1 or 2 passes away from actually getting another score.
There are more casualties on the Irish side. That looks as if it's Paul Burke, and there's another one down for Japan. It's all pretty hectic, and I think the pace beginning to tell now. But it was interesting to see there that not only was Gagan covering, but Paul Wallace, the prop, was bursting his lungs to get up there and had done very well, and had just, I think, diverted Yoshida's concentration by forcing him on the inside. And that was where the move came to an end. But so dangerous, and Japan gaining in strength now. You would have thought that the forward exchanges would have taken much more out of them than of the Irish, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So it's a scrummage down inside the Irish 22. And the referee just not too happy with the Irish scrummaging on the tight head side at the moment. That's all right. Hogan is there to Burke, and Burke really can do very little with that. It was a tight angle, there wasn't much on for him, and he shakes his head. He's not happy with the service he's getting. Morris Field there beside him. So it's a line out to just inside the Irish 22, and Japan have been doing rather well at the line out. Kunda throws, they've won it again in the middle. Now Hirao, what have they got up their sleeves this time? The link with Hirao's over, and is he through? He's over for a sensational try, all the way from Hirao, the fly half. Oh, what a marvellous try that was. And they're finding gaps all over this Irish defence. Well, the crowd who are supporting the underdogs here love that.
Well, I mean, it was a two-handed line-out catch initially that set up the great position. A little bit of movement and looping round in the centre of the pitch, coming round from out half. Again, Ireland had opportunities to put him down and missed.
But the gap there was a mighty one. He could have driven something much bigger than Hirao through it, that's for sure. And the Irish defence certainly found wanting there on what was a pretty simple loop move, but it was all done with such speed. So it's Yoshida, and Yoshida has added the goal points, and suddenly Japan are back and Ireland are back in trouble. 26-21 the lead. And it's interesting that, let's have a look at this gap again. Now here was the loop. It was beautifully executed, but the gap was a mighty one. and there was nothing that Gagan could do to repair that damage. So Yoshida brought in also, apart from his running, for his goal kicking, and his goal kicking has been pretty accurate so far. Now then, away comes Halvey to try and get Ireland back into this match, and they must do it quickly because Japan are all over the place and they're so difficult to stop when they get on top. Popplewell goes round the side. Now away comes Tweed. Burke again going for the corner, and if it bounces well, perfect kick. That's twice this half he's kicked with great precision into that corner.
Yeah, a fine kick from Burke, and you can see him there trying to raise his side. There's no doubt that Ireland are the better side. They can put it together at moments. I mean, once they've been stung by a try, they're coming right back up again, but they're not performing consistently well, and Japan now have a sniff of an upset, and they're going to be tremendously hard to beat.
And you can reckon that they're going to run everything. That's Ota, but not straight. It's always a very brave manoeuvre that, to throw over the top at your own line. You've got to be pinpointed your accuracy. They weren't there, they've given away a scrummage, and this of course is very much the place where they conceded the penalty try earlier on, and you can rest assured that Ireland will go for that here. And the referee coming round to the Irish tight head side. He hasn't been just terribly happy with what's been going on that side, whether it's Ota on the Japanese loose head or Paul Wallace, we don't know, but here they're going to hold it. And Hogan directing operations from behind. He knows he's not going to get the ball. They're waiting for the second drive coming in from the Irish now, and the referee will be watching very closely to see if there's another collapse. Asking Japan to stay on their feet. Wants the props to prop straight. Hogan not happy though. He's not going to put the ball in until he is, because this is a crucial scrummage. This is where the Japanese are at their most vulnerable, and Ireland know it, and they must go for one here. Well, it's gone down, that Japanese scrum, but they're holding, going for it now, Ireland, but there's not any change to be got out of that scrummage. The referee deciding to give them another chance to scrum down. Ireland quite happy to stay here all afternoon, and now a penalty has been awarded against the scrum. I don't know, he didn't give them any chance to really to get down there, just to scrummage, and he's awarded a penalty.
Yes, Ireland there, Chris, again choosing to scrummage. They definitely feel they have the advantage over the Japanese, and perhaps a strange decision. They might have even expected a penalty try.
Well, Ireland, as I say, will be happy to spend the whole afternoon here if they have to, and they're going for it, and the scrummage goes down again. Now the referee is a little bit uncertain, I think. Is he going to award for another penalty, or is this just another scrummage, another feed to Ireland? I think that's what it is. In the meantime, Ireland hope to be sapping the energy of those tight forwards. They certainly need something to quieten them down. That's Sukaraba. Now Ireland will be going for it. That's such a low Japanese scrummage, you wonder that it can hold up. And it doesn't, but Ireland's still going. They're held up, and another penalty try. It had to come, there was no doubt. That's a fair tactic. It's exactly what Ireland want to do, and the referee quite right.
Yes, quite right, Chris. There were a succession of scrums there where Ireland were always keeping the pressure on their opponents, and they were tending to wear them down. It wasn't a particularly popular decision here in the ground. The crowd have now got very much behind the underdogs, but it was a well-deserved try from Ireland. They're much more powerful in the scrums. Paddy John was controlling well at the base. It was never out of his control, and they were always likely to score if it hadn't been collapsed.
And it, of course, I suppose, isn't quite what the crowd are wanting. They want to see the sort of tries that Japan are scoring, but it's a legitimate ploy, and both these penalty tries have come following superb kicks into space from this man, Paul Burke. And he's kicked another 2 points. And that's just what Ireland needed to take them into the safety zone again. 33 points to 21, the lead.
Well, again, Chris, I mean, it was a very sound scrum from the Irish, and the Irish forwards certainly were working hard all the time. There's an awful lot of pressure in those scrums, even when they don't move that far. But Ireland definitely had the advantage, and we can see the Japanese going down first.
And away now comes Paul Wallace. He's had an encouraging first international. Davy Tweed supporting him. And now Halvey up to the halfway line. This is more like the thing from Ireland. Paul Burt trying to control it, loses the control, but Paddy Johns kicks on, and Japan deep inside their own 22 just have to scramble the ball into touch.
I don't feel Ireland should, they don't want to play it too loose. I think they want to try and tighten it down. Here we can see figures we certainly wouldn't have predicted from the start of the match. The Japanese having the advantage in territory in both halves. Ireland really want to try and steady it up again. The sort of tactic that was so successful for them at the start of the match. Davy Tweed or Neil Francis in the middle of the line, catching in two hands, driving on and maybe peeling round in a controlled and orderly fashion round the sides of the rucks. Ireland really need to get their game together and not play too loose as it's playing into the Japanese hands.
So Kingston with the throw, up to the back, up there goes Neil Francis, the drive, controlled drive coming in now from the Irish forwards. This is more like the thing, and once again the Japanese forwards forced into retreat. This is tiring them, this is taking the strength from them and discouraging them and tightening them up. And they're moving towards their own goal line. This is an irresistible drive by Ireland. They're surely going over, and it's going to be a score for Halvey. Eddie Halvey peeled away and got the try that Ireland wanted.
Yes, it was a good try from Ireland. Ireland so often outweighed by other packs, by the English, Australians, New Zealanders and so on, but this time it's the right tactics. They've got the weight behind them. When they caught that ball, they moved it right to the back. They kept it protected until it loosened up, allowing Eddie Halvey to run round the side. Eddie Halvey correct in trying to get as close to the post and making the kick as straightforward for Paul Burke as possible.
Well, it was a classic maul try. It was Eddie Halvey's first in the tournament. It was also his first for Ireland. And after all the running repairs he's required, he's kept at the task very well indeed, worked very hard on that flank. And suddenly Ireland now in complete control in the forwards, and Japan it is who look very tired. So Paul Burt to try and add the goal points, and the total looking a great deal healthier now for Ireland. Got that one, and that has taken Ireland to the 40-point mark, 40 points to 21, and suddenly in the space of the last 5 minutes the game has turned round completely after Japan threatened to be taking control through their backs.
Yes, Ireland there, we'll see that try again from high in the back stand, Eddie Halvey getting round, but they must start again in a controlled way. They must try and catch this ball and not allow the Japanese to drive through as they're doing at the moment.
Popplewell at the bottom of that. Hogan back to Burke. And that's a better one from Burke, even from a narrow angle now. He's finding his touch. He's a highly promising young player. Snaffled by Ireland after he'd chosen to play his early rugby with England, but he's got a long career ahead of him surely as Ireland's scrum half. Paddy Whelan there, assistant coach. A lot happier man now, I should think, as Francis takes that cleanly. But closing the gap. Francis has not exactly been the referee's pin-up this afternoon. He's fallen foul of him a few times. And Japan now come away, but not quite the power that was in their earlier thrusts. Away it comes to Hirao. A swift passing. Oh, it's lightning stuff. Sleight of hand, but away comes Corkery now. Hogan's found a gap, and he's got Gagan outside. Gagan turning inside to Hogan again, to Popplewell. Popplewell's found a wonderful gap. decided to go all the way if he can. He's got support from Corkery. Up to the 22 they come. Away now comes Paddy Johns, up over the 22. The Irish forwards are in there, but in no great numbers. Kingston loses control. Just a little bit slow in getting up there, Ireland, in support of Popplewell, who charged through.
Yes, I think too many Irish forwards standing back there, Chris. So we're all expecting the ball to come back and they would get a charge on with it. We need more forwards committing ourselves to winning that ball initially. On that occasion, too many tried to actually run with it, and they're being knocked out of Terry Kingston's hands in the scrum, going down to the Japanese.
Well, there's an injury again to one of the flankers, it must be, because I see Anthony Foley, who's been in and out of this game. Oh, it's Davy Tweed who's injured, in which case then it would be Paddy Johns, presumably would move up to the second row, but Tweed doesn't look as if he's going to be taken off easily. He's worked terribly hard to get there. There's the sign, you can stay off, I'm going to stay on. Good old Davy Tweed, the oldest man to win his first cap at the age of 35. He's not going to come off unless it's very serious. Now away come Japan through Matsuda. The support there from Aizo. He's been everywhere since he came on the field, but he couldn't control his pass. Still, though, Japan have it. And now it's into Ota, the loose head drop. Back for Hirao into the three-quarter line again. But the Irish defence is there in numbers this time. Horikoshi switching play cleverly to Izo again. And here's Ota. He just loves to run it wherever he can find in green. That's Takura to Latu, but it's all a little bit lacking pace at the moment. Makoto, now there's room for Harawi, the switch. Still Japan have possession. Horikoshi, back to Izowo again, Latu, and linking up with Oto. Oto, the kick pass, has he been charged illegally? The referee says yes, awards a penalty. He said that Hogan had obstructed coming in late and has awarded the penalty to Japan. Japan will certainly run it.
Yes, they need to move back quickly. The Irish forwards are so tired, and there's another charge from Japan.
They come through Kunda. Now it's the scrum half. Horikoshi just held up short of the line. And they've got over, have they? It's a score has been awarded. And Japan have got the try. The try scorer is Takura, the prop. He was lost under the pile of players, but it was all made by Horikoshi, the scrum half, who drove to within a metre of the line and set up the try for his prop, Takura. Davy Tweed, meanwhile, coming off. Yoshida has converted, and so Japan have closed the gap yet again, 40 points to 28. We've got 5 minutes of play remaining. The gap surely too much for them to close, but they have never given up, and they provided some spectacular entertainment.
No, undoubtedly it was nothing less than they deserved. They won a succession of loose balls. The Irish tackling really hasn't been sufficiently firm. They're scragging men down to the ground, but allowing the Japanese to get the ball away. And once they move it out their backs, they look exceptionally dangerous.
So taken by Sukaraba. And there was obstruction there in front of the jumper. Again, the crowd don't like it, but he was being protected. The Irishman couldn't get near him. That's Sukaraba.
Great opportunity for Paul Burke, and undoubtedly the Irish will try to kick this. It would open the gap to 15 points, and that would mean the Japanese would need more than 2 converted tries. It would be a great sort of gap for Ireland, and should settle their nerves now with only about 5 minutes or so of the match remaining.
Well, Paul Burke, who's gained in maturity as the game has progressed and has kicked quite beautifully in the latter stages. to attempt this penalty. Just the preparation that Ireland would want for this crucial game that they have against Wales. They must finish in control. Give themselves all the confidence. The crowd don't like it, but Ireland are quite happy. They must take what's on offer. And Burke hasn't been put off by it. That's a lovely kick by him, straight between the posts. It's increased Ireland's lead to 43 points to 28. And so now they can relax slightly as they go into the final minutes, knowing that Japan have really too much to do. Although they're certain to come again, they have not given up. Matoke restarts. Held there by Johns. Away comes Neil Francis. Has support from Foley. Johns again. Popplewell in there. Ireland just keen to keep it tight. Tie in the Japanese loose forwards. And away they come, Ireland. This is a great run here by Wallace. Wallace looking support, gets it from Foley. Foley brought down just short of the 22. Hogan carries it on over the 22. Up there too is Corkery. Corkery drives forward. The Irishmen are on fire now as Hogan goes over for the try. Oh, lovely play by Ireland. Now that was control from both forwards and backs. And Hogan deservedly getting the try because he was involved from first to last. And here it was, Hogan it was who started it all, finding the gap and deciding that he could go on his own. He had support there from Halvey, but he was over for the try, and that's what it meant to him and to Ireland. So in his third international, his first try. Meticulous preparation from Burke now. He knows it's safe for Ireland. That's a very fine strike rate. And his misses were early on. He's quite immaculate. If you're striking the ball well here, the conditions certainly favour you. And he's seemed very confident. He's hit that beautifully, and he's got it. Lovely kicking from Paul Burke. And Ireland's lead now quite secure. 50 points to 28. Unassailable now. And here it was a mixture of forwards and backs. The forwards had driven and there was a huge gap. Wallace was outside Hogan, but he didn't need him. From the kick-off, Japan in front of the ball. We're into the last couple of minutes now. And Japan looking very tired, but they've given everything to the cause. So a scrummage down. Good solid Irish scrummaging, plenty of protection and room for Hogan and plenty of time for Burke to find touch again. Another raking finder down there, and Matsudo could do nothing about it. And that's been Burke's favourite corner. He's worked Ireland up into that position many times. Wallace giving chase. That's Sukaraba, the lock forward. Won a good bit of ball early on in the match. But Ireland are winning it now. Halvey to Field. Field taken down in the centre of the defence, but he's tied in a few Japanese. They're going to try and run it from here. They've got no option, only as far as Paddy Johns, though. Now they come again through Matsudo. Oh, that's lovely tackling by Paul Wallace. He gets around the field. Now away comes The Japanese through Otto again. Oh, good tackle by Gagan, picked up by Burke beautifully, trying to find Gagan, and Gagan was so annoyed with himself, just couldn't quite control that, because if he had, he was clear. Good work from Paul Burke. Full line out called. But the referee not content with Ireland's play at the line out there, coming again, closing the gap. So what are Japan going to do? What fiendish plot have they got up their sleeves this time now? Is Horikoshi, 5'2", but non-stop action. Well, they're obviously going to run it. They're going to try anything now. Horikoshi into Aizo. Over the 22, launching another attack through Latu, the flank forward. Now Bruce Ferguson, that's a terrible pass, and Gagan might profit from it. There's a chance here for Gagan, but the ball just beat him into touch, and the final whistle blows. So Ireland have had their shaky moments in this match, but they've come through in grand fashion, scoring 5 tries from play and 2 penalty tries because of their incredibly strong scrummage, which really the Japanese had no answer to, but they themselves scored 4 thrilling tries, in contrast perhaps to some of the more prosaic Irish play, but it was the right play in the circumstances. Ireland then the comfortable winners of this match, and can go forward to the Welsh game with confidence, winning by 50 points to 28.